We're rolling.
Hello everybody, we're going to be talking all about some of the resources that sit underneath the ground. These resources are called fossil fuels, and we're also going to talk about climate change. This week we are very lucky once again to have Uliana, our ice scientist, who knows a lot about this region and how it all works. Uliana, say hello.
Hello everyone.
Uliana, now, first question is this. There are resources under the ground here. Could you tell us what they are, how they're formed, and if we dig them up and use them as we're still doing around the world, what problem does that pose?
Yeah, so Svalbard is really interesting. So it used to actually be much further south than it is here near the North Pole, so near the equator. And at that time, there were swamps and forests, even dinosaurs roaming the lands here. And so when you say fossil fuel, literally, these are fossils. There's fossils of the old forests and plants that all got kind of squished and compacted together to make coal.
Right.
And coal is what we can dig up, and that's what we use, you know, for so many different uses around the planet to power our lifestyle.
And what happens when we use this coal, when we burn it to make energy?
Yeah, so when this was initially buried, it had all this carbon in it. So it's called a carbon sink. Like when things go down your sink, it captures that carbon. And now when we burn it, we're releasing all that carbon back into the atmosphere. And the release of that is what's causing the temperatures to go up.
So this is what we call climate change.
It is.
So can you tell us, what is climate change? We've heard it so much on the news and the newspapers, people are talking about it all over the world.
Yeah.
What is climate change?
Yeah, climate change is just changing patterns in weather, but on the long term, right? So weather is what the air is doing kind of on a day-to-day basis. It's sunny, it's cloudy, it's raining, and then climate is that longer pattern. And scientists will look at 30 years of patterns to see what's changing. And every 30 years, they kind of update and see. So basically, it's getting a lot warmer. It's getting drier in places. And so the climate in some ways is destabilizing. Right. So it's no longer what we knew from the past. We can't really rely on that information now to tell what's going to happen.
And it's changing very quickly.
Very quickly.
So, I mean, for all of our students watching, this is your future we're talking about here, and that's why we're here on week number 10, so that you can take action and hopefully make a future that's better for every single organism on the planet. Now, obviously, climate change affects lots of things, our daily lives, the daily temperatures. How does it affect the sea, the ocean, and how does it affect ice, and how important is that?
Yeah, so with the sea in particular, it's much darker, right? And so it's able to absorb more of that heat from the sun. So it's going to heat up a lot faster. And so when you have that problem, that can actually change how the creatures in the ocean are reacting. Coral reefs, for example, have this certain temperature range that they really like. And there's an entire blend of critters that live on those reefs. Even us, we depend on the fish from the coral reefs. And so there's problems that just begin with like the warming of the ocean that just manifest in so many different ways down the entire food chain up to us. And then with the ice acts as this mirror, right? So it reflects back the sunlight and it keeps us cool. And if you start removing that and melting that, again, we have that same situation of more and more heating. That's
right. And some people are saying that the Arctic and Antarctica are what's called the Earth's refrigerator. Yes. Is that because it reflects the ice? Exactly. That reflects the light into the sky? Exactly.
Yep. It's they're both known as Earth's refrigerators.
Wow, keeping us nice and cool.
Yeah.
Now, as we look forward into what goes on after week number 10, which is this week, this doesn't mean that we're going to end here. You've worked really hard to understand how this region, the Arctic, plays an important role in how the Earth functions. You have got a big job now. And that is not to stop at this point. We're going to take action. We're going to make a plan. That plan is going to be improve the way that your community functions. It could be that you turn the lights off between 2 and 3 o'clock every single day. It could be that you walk to school on a Wednesday, or you don't eat any meat on a Thursday. The smallest thing with lots of people will have the biggest change and the biggest action on the planet, and we want to work with you to help save the planet. Now, Uliana, you are a climate activist. You take care of the planet. I know that. I've got to know you the last few days. What do you do in your daily life to improve the way the planet functions, and how can we all learn from the way that you live?
Yeah, it's an important point you just made. It's the small things, but many people doing many small actions across the world that has the impact. And so for me personally, I love to exercise. So any chance I get to walk somewhere, to a store, to get my groceries, I'll do that. The lights is a very big one. You know, just think, do I really need this light right now? How many lights do we need on in the home? Same thing with heating and air conditioning. You know, do we really need that much heat? Do we really need to be that cool? There's ways that you can just naturally cool off in a pool, things like that. And then minimizing my plastic use is a big one, because you see this beautiful ocean, and we've seen instances of some of trash on the beaches, even all the way up here in the Arctic. Wow. So as much as we can reduce our trash too, and reusing materials, even like these cloth canvas bags for any shopping errands, things like that are really easy to do, and that could be done in whole families.
That's right. And what about the food that we eat? Is there any kind of foods that we can eat which are good or bad for the environment?
Yeah, so more vegetables. That's good for your health, and it's good for the planet's health. And then with meat, minimizing the meat, right? So the red meat is the worst because cows produce a lot of methane, and that is a really big gas that goes up in the atmosphere and causes even more heating.
Right.
So if you want to eat meat, chicken, fish, pork will be better.
Right, okay. And so when we talk about cows producing methane, and obviously, they do a fart basically, don't they? That's what they do.
It's actually more burps than farts.
Oh, it's more burps.
Scientists found out. Don't ask me the details, but they found out.
Right, well, it comes out, it comes out of our cows, and that's right. But I guess the point is that causes something called the greenhouse effect.
Yes.
Can you tell us, what is the greenhouse effect?
Yeah, so the greenhouse effect, the simplest way to think about it is, how do you feel if you've ever been in a greenhouse or even in a car with the windows all closed and on a warm day? You get really, really hot. Plants love this, right, in a greenhouse, an actual greenhouse, but there's a point where it gets too hot. And so now, instead of there being a balance on the planet, these gases, the carbon dioxide and methane, they're actually acting as a trap. So now these gases can't escape like they're supposed to. Now they're getting trapped, and they're getting sent back to the Earth's surface and heating us.
Wow, so we're basically almost living in a huge greenhouse. It's getting too hot.
It's exactly a good way to think of it. Yeah.
So, as we've heard from Uliana, there are many things that you can do in your community and even in your daily life. Just turning the lights off in your classroom or deciding that you're going to walk to school every single day can have a huge impact. In this week, we are actually going to make a plan, and we're going to take action with our community. You are students, but you are going to lead the way by persuading your families, your teachers, and even write to local politicians and influential people to change the way that they live, improve the planet for the future, and every single being that lives on this big blue ball that we call home. Off you go, and we'll see you at the end of this lesson.